Hi, we're going to make this fun card using the stamp sets that are featured in the Celebrations catalog. My favorite is the Hey Chick stamp set and the reverse words. I'm also going to use, out of the annual catalog, the Basket of Wishes. What you're going to need Cajun Craze, Basic Gray, Vellum, and a piece of the Shimmery White cardstock and the nesting layering ovals. I'm also going to use the Hexagon Dynamic Texture Impression folder, watercolor pencils, StazOn ink, and you're going to need an aqua painter and of course your Big Shot. So the first thing I'm going to do for making this card is I want to go ahead and I stamp all my figures in StazOn ink on the Shimmery White cardstock. The Shimmery White cardstock is a really very nice heavyweight cardstock that can take the watercolor technique. It's not as thick as watercolor paper, but it can still absorb some watercolor coloring on it. So I've chosen that. It also has a really nice shimmer that I think is especially nice. The Hey Chick stamp set is really perfect. It stamps great the first time using the StazOn ink. Now that I've stamped all my figures, it's time to color using the new watercolor pencils. And I'm going to pick my colors. I think I like my Rich Razzleberry and my Melon Mambo for that wild hair for my top chick. Here I'm using the Melon Mambo. I'm just covering the whole area, the whole inside of the figure, both on the comb and the tail feathers. And then I'm going to put a little bit more color inside the middle, a little more pigment, because I'm going to use that with my aqua painter here in a minute. I'm going to color her in Daffodil Delight, and again I'm going to go and concentrate my color on the edge of the figure and very lightly color in the center. What I'm looking for here is I'm looking for the basic gray, which I'm going to use for my next figure. And there it is. And again, I focus on outlining the figure with the pigment because I'm going to use my aqua painter to bring my pigment and blend it. I'm using the Bermuda Bay color for my next chick. Again, focusing on the outside of the figure and putting pigment that I can use to blend later on. I'm using the pumpkin pie for their little beaks, and then real red for their combs. Now I have my aqua painter, and I'm just going to start in the middle, pick up some of that pigment and push it out to the ends. I'm using a piece of white scrap cardstock because I need to make sure that my aqua painter stays, that the tip stays clean and I don't mix my colors. Now I'm working on the gray, or I'm working on the red combs. And now I'm working on the yellow. See how I'm kind of pushing the color around on the outside and then bringing it to the inside to blend. Same technique here. Going along the outside, pulling in that color into the center of my figure to blend it. Now you can always put more pencil, more pigment on your figure and pull more more color in order to make the shadow much deeper. Again, I'm doing the same thing, pulling the color into the center of my figure so that it has a shape and it looks rounded. I'm using, again, a little bit more pigment to give it more shadow along the bottom of the figure. And here I'm picking another color, the Pacific Point, and I'm putting a little bit of that shading under the bottom of the wing feather. So there they are. They look pretty good. I'm putting a little bit of the orange along the outside of my yellow because that always helps to give it a little bit more shadow whenever you're using yellow, or in this case it's Daffodil Delight. Now I'm using Early Espresso for my basket, and I want to put a lot of pigment, a lot of color on the shaded area of my figure, which is on the left there. So I'm going to just kind of put that dark, and then I'm going to just very lightly fill in the rest of it, and then I'm going to pull that color forward to the rest of my figure as I moisten it with my aqua pencil, my aqua painter. And there you go. Now notice how I make sure that the point of my aqua painter is always not only clean, but that I sharpen it to a point. That way you can always assure you have a sharp point whenever you're trying to use it the next time. Otherwise your brush will flare and you won't have a lot of control. Now I'm just fussy cutting, and I'm cutting around the feet because in this particular card I really don't need the feet. We're just going to stack them up together. Okay, so now they're all cut out. Now we're going to cut the layers that we're going to put our birds on, and I simply use the layering ovals. The smooth oval, the smaller oval, is going to fit inside the larger scalloped oval, and then I'm going to use the embossing folder to emboss that because it's going to look kind of like chicken wire. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on my oval. There you go. And now I'm going to line up my birds. So I'm just going to lay them out the way I want them to appear because I want them to fit on the oval. And however, I'm just put just a tiny bit of glue just so that I can hold them in place as I kind of play with them a little bit to make sure they fit in the oval. I'm going to roll the shape of the basket so that it kind of pops up and it looks a little bit more 3D. And it's going to fit in front of our chicks. And you can just, because you put just a little bit of glue, you can always kind of move it around until you're happy with how they're arranged. You know, I could go ahead and put it with the snail, but what I want to do is use dimensionals because I really want them to pop up. So I'm putting the dimensionals on now. And I'm using plenty of dimensionals because I have, 3 layers of figures. So I want to make sure that each figure gets a dimensional. I'm going to go ahead and line them up. And I found a little piece of white that's sticking out, so I can just kind of clip that. And I'm going to put on my basket, and I'm going to use my tear tape right along the edge where I'm going to adhere the edges of the basket because the front of my basket is going to be curved so that I can get that 3D effect. And I always like to use either the corner of my scissors or an X-Acto blade to tear off the tear tape because my nails never seem to get it. And there you go. Isn't that gorgeous? So now I can go ahead and put it on my card, but before I put it on my card, if you've seen my videos before, you know that I really like putting a scoring a frame for my card if it's a very simple card, because it really just adds a little bit more finish. Now I'm using the stamp and I'm taking the Cajun Craze ink, so it's going to be tone on tone. I'm just going to test it because it's the first time I've used it. There you go. Now this actually looks a little blotchy now that I look at this, but to see this card now, I have to tell you that the Stampin' Up paper is fantastic with the ink, that it actually absorbed, and the ink smoothed out on the image. It doesn't look as blotchy as it does in this video. So now I'm just going to go ahead and put my image there. There you go. We're going to do the inside. I'm using the little egg figure. And I don't have the backings on this, so I always have to stamp off and make sure that I don't have my stamp upside down, because I've done that before when I haven't put the backing on my rubber stamps. Then I just want to pull another color into my card, so I'm using the washi tape with the Melon Mambo, just to give it a little bit more contrast against the Cajun Craze. And there you go. Just pop that in there with some snail, and you have a great card to send out to friends or family. And simple. Hope you like my video. Please press like, and see you next time. This is Kat Chancellor, Stamp Art Connection. Happy stamping.